You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jason. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and I say recovered because I no longer live in that chaos, misery, and madness.
How long have you been sober?
Coming up on 3 years, August 2nd, 2021, celebrating 3 years.
How do you feel about that?
I feel better. I'm proud of the accomplishment, man, because for the longest time I thought I was just going to be an alcoholic addict, and that was going to be the end of it. But by the grace of God, here I sit trying to maybe share some experience, strength, and hope, maybe.
Yeah. How'd you get sober?
How did I get sober? Well, my wife, it took calling the law on me 4 times before they caught me with anything. You know, I thought I was out slicking them. I mean, she'd call the law and I'd have the stuff hid. But the 4th time, 11 o'clock at night, 2 state troopers caught me with substances, and I was highly intoxicated, and they took me to jail. I got out the next day and Corona hit. So there was like an 8-month span where everybody stayed home, no school, don't go to work, courts are not in session. And during that 8-month time, I'm still actively using and drinking. And I'm making phone calls to family members that have positions in government that could probably help me, you know, pull some strings, if you will. Privileged, I felt like. And I did. Over the course of 8 months, I called and I talked to people and went to, when courts resumed, I showed back up, and the prosecutor and whoever speaks in front of the judge, you know, they said, have we reached a determination or an agreement with what we're going to do with Mr. Sanders? And the prosecutor says, yeah, we're going to probate this, we're going to probate that, this amount of jail time, time served, and there'll be a fine. And I'm thinking I'm winning, you know, and I would have been, but he surprised me with, said if Mr. Sanders can pass the drug test today. Boy, you talk about scared. I had wiped white out of my nose going into the courtroom. May have reeked of booze, but so we keep going with that.
Sure.
Just keep going with it.
Sure.
I'll tell you what happened. So they said, Mr. Sanders, the judge said, Mr. Sanders, you got 15 minutes to get up to Bluegrass Counseling and get us a drug test, a specimen. It's mask mandate, so everybody's wearing masks. And I said, no problem. I walked out the door, ran to my truck, sped home, parked my truck, ran around my privacy fence, boom, boom, boom on my neighbor's door. I need your kid's pee and I need it now. I've got to go. So my friend got his 8-year-old kid to pee in a bottle, brought it to me, and I was kind of prepared. I had a temperature sensitive bottle, had a thermometer on the side. So I poured it in, I tucked it in my pants, and I get up, I run up to Bluegrass Counseling, and I walk in the door, and she said, are you Jason Sanders? I said, yes. She said, wow, you had 30 seconds, son. I said, well, I'm here. What do we need to do? She said, all right, come back here. And I saw what she had. I had seen urine test cups before. It was wrapped, and she's unwrapping it. And when we get to the door, which I assume is the restroom, it was the restroom, she handed me a cup. She said, I need you to fill it up here. Don't wash your hands. Don't flush. And then bring it out. So I'm winning, man, because I get the cup, I go in, I hear the door shut. She's not watching, so I'm winning, right? So I take what I think is the amount of time it takes to pee. I poured it in there. I looked at the temperature, and I was like, yeah. And I come out, and she peels it off. She's like, all right, come back up here. So we walk up to where it all started, and she said, have a seat. And I see her fumbling around over here, and all of a sudden she pulls out this sucker right at me. It's a square sucker, and I jump back. And she's like, I need you to put that in your mouth. It's a saliva test. Boy, bullets, sweat started popping up. And like I said, mask mandate. So I put that sucker in my mouth, mask up, and I'm not letting it touch anywhere, because I'm not going to give you a positive test, period. Not going to give you proof on paper. And she says, let me see it. She takes it and looks at it and says, go back. And this went on for about 20 minutes. Finally, she turns around on the computer, and I see Judge pop up. And she said, Your Honor, the test that you wanted Mr. Sanders to take usually takes 5 minutes, and it's been 20 minutes. And he has not given us a result on the test that you requested, the sucker, the saliva test. He said, we'll make him pee again. Man, you talk about sweating in. So here we go back. She hands me a cup. And I feel like I'm hitting. I go in there, and I just got a couple drops of pee, and I spit in it. And I came out. And I handed it to her. This time she peeled it off. She said, all right, go back to court. So I went back to court, and it seemed like an eternity, man. Seemed like a couple hours. May have been 30, 45 minutes. I don't know. But it seemed long. And then, it was almost like when she entered the room, it's like almost like she kicked the double doors in. Boom! And the doors fly open. And she's carrying 2 cups of urine specimen. And it was like, she's like, Your Honor, look at what I've got. And he's like, what's going on? And she said, well, Your Honor, one of these is not even his, and the other is hot for methamphetamine and marijuana. And Judge said, bam, that's what I'm talking about. We're going to get you the help you need, son. And so they cuffed me up, man, and I'm sitting here thinking, at that moment, I know I'm going to jail, but I'm sitting here in my mind thinking, how am I going to get even with this SOB? How am I going to get to her? These people are out to mess me up. It's not my problem. I've got to get even with the judge. I'm thinking dastardly thoughts, And so off to jail I go. 8 days in the same underwear, right here in LaRue County. I finally get a bed at Isaiah House, and that's where my journey to recovery really started. So how did I get sober? I owe a lot to my wife, because like I said, if she hadn't loved me enough to call the law on me 4 times and not give up, I was trying to make her leave, because I want to do what I want to do. And I got a daughter, and now I've got a court-appointed son. In my addiction, the son wasn't there, but my daughter, there was a long time where I had video on my phone of us having great times, but from the age of like 12 to 14, there was nothing on my phone with me and her interacting. And that's because I got on spice. And, I was what they call a functioning alcoholic addict until I got on the spice. And then my wife just couldn't take it anymore. And rehab 5 times, 5 intake dates in less than a year. The Isaiah House, I owe a lot to. I like to go back and speak, try to share experience, drink hope. I've been over there like 4 times, a couple hundred guys, 150 guys. I'm not afraid to speak to people anymore, because what Alcoholics Anonymous has given me, God has allowed me to not be afraid to talk on a camera, in front of a camera, and talk in front of 150, 200 people, whereas before I was terrified. What I can say, how did I get sober? Well, I could really back up a little bit. 2000, been roofing 10 years, stepped out on my porch on Saturday, I think it was. Smoked a cigarette. I've been smoking since I was 15.
How old are you when you're 2000?
I'm 30.
30.
Yeah, 30, 54 now. I step out on the porch, nice home, we got a nice place, 4 acres, got a horse and fenced off and all that stuff. It's nice house. Lived there 17 years. Step out on the porch, smoke a cigarette. I have a little cough, and man, felt like somebody shot me with a 30-30 in the back because I dropped. I can't move. I can barely crawl. I can't hardly breathe. I bang on the door. The wife comes out. We go to the hospital. They get me in. They do a MRI. Go home. Of course, I don't get the results right then. I go to the doctor. I think it was the next day, like on Monday, and doc says, you have ruptured 2 discs, you have degenerative disc disease, and you have scoliosis. He handed me a prescription, and it was like, to me, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, it was like winning the lottery. It was like being Charlie in Willy Wonka. It was my golden ticket. He said, here, go fill this. These will make you feel better. And I started out on hydrocodones, and I took a couple of them, and damn, it's the first time I ever got any relief from a pain pill. I used to try to take them once in a while. They make me sick, but when you're in pain, they seem to do something different. And for the next 17 years, I don't know if I had a sober day. Because if I didn't have pills, because I take more than I'm supposed to, I get drunk. I'm not sober for 17 years. I've got some form of narcotic.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah, it's all prescribed. I'm manipulating. Back doesn't hurt, but I love the pills.
So some people say like every day, like it's an exaggeration, but you mean
no, this is every day.
365 days a year.
Every day.
Every day.
If I didn't have them, I was drunk.
Right.
I did not go anywhere sober. Nowhere. If I didn't have it and I didn't get drunk, I stayed in bed. So I can't say 100% that it was every day, but every day I was either sick in bed, drunk, or high on some form of something because I don't go anywhere sober. 2009, I had manipulated the doctors into prescribing me. I stair-stepped up to the fentanyl patches. I started out on 50s, went to 75s and 100s. In 2009, I was prescribed 100 microgram fentanyl patches a month. 30. That's one a day. One patch, 100 patch is supposed to do a grown man for 3 days. It's a time-release patch, but I get one a day. The problem is I'm cutting them up and eating 2 a day. In 2009, my wife is having to distribute my medication. She's having to give it to me because at this time I'm an addict. I'm always running out, and she's like, I've got to do this. Well, I wake up like on a Saturday, I think it was. I said, babe, I need another patch. Waking up. And she said, that's it. I'm done. You're going to rehab. So I've never thought about rehab. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, rehab or lose my wife? I'll take rehab. So she dropped me off at the Brook Hospital in 2009. I go in there higher than bird nuts. I'm chewing on a patch when I go in. I do a 7-day medical detox. And I've done some heroin. But I had been abusing fentanyl for 4 years. And I'm going to tell you something. Coming off that, I don't know what the withdrawal of heroin is, but I'm going to tell you something. I am hallucinating. I am vomiting. I am diarrhea for 4 days in a room. They don't come and change you because it's so frequently that you're throwing up and crapping. I know it was 3 or 4 days before I finally quit all that, and they came in. I've got feces, puke, and everything all over me. I wallow, roll, can't sleep, trying to fight everybody. And finally they came in. I got a shower. So I plainly remember this hallucination. I see my wife and daughter. My daughter runs across the floor. She's like a year and a half, 2 years old. She's not there, but I'm trying to get to her. I'm pushing staff out of the way. I will kill you. Get out of the way. And they're just blocking me off, trying to kick me away. And I do a 7-day medical detox, and this is what I recall. I remember playing a little volleyball. I love volleyball. I used to play it all the time. But when you're sober, playing volleyball, it was fucking such a drag inside volleyball in rehab. I recall my wife told me this story upon picking me up. She said, this is what happened. Said she called up there and said, we're going to release him. And Miss Sanders, we think your husband needs to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. And she said, you must be talking about somebody else. My husband is in there for drugs. And they said, ma'am, we think your husband needs to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. So this is February around 14th, somewhere around there. I recall I bought her a little gift at the gift shop for Valentine's Day. We still got it. Little singing doll. You touch it, and that's 2 minutes of singing. We brush our teeth for 2 minutes while that thing sings and dances. So I get home, and later that night, my wife took me down to Alcoholics Anonymous, a meeting in Etown, the Serenity Club. And I'm going to tell you something. I was still so sick. I've used the example, it felt like I had 2 upside down cars chained to each leg. That's the effort it took to go up steps. I was just so poor, drained, and sick, even at this point. Well, anyway, I ended up down there, and I walk in, I sit down, and I'm terrified of where I am. I have no idea what to expect. I've never been to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I'm still sick, head's pounding, and there's maybe 10 or 12 people there. But I get there, and I see people laughing and cutting up, and they're like having a good time. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people? I don't understand. What are they on? And anyway, I sit down, and the meeting comes to order, and they've got these readings passed out. I later found out that they read the preamble, and then they read how it works. I'm sick, man. My head's down. I'm foggy. And then they read the traditions. And I think I got my head down at this point. And then they said, who's got the promises to read? And I looked up and I thought to myself, what the fuck are you talking about, promise? Yeah, right. You're liars. I don't believe any of this shit. There's no way you're sober. And anyway, in 2009, I put together 31 days of consecutive sobriety. From the age of 13 to fucking 50, I had 31 days of consecutive sobriety. I know this because in 2009, I went to a medical detox, and then I went to 4 AA meetings. And at 31 days, I called the doctor and manipulated him. I told the wife, I said, if you want me to stay sober and stay off the pills, fine, pack your shit. We'll go live in the projects because I can't work without it. I think she made the appointment for the doctor. She didn't want to go to the projects.
But you knew that.
I knew we weren't going to the projects.
Right.
I just wanted the pills.
Right.
So the doctor puts me back on the oxys. I can tell you all about the shit I was on, man. For a long time, I was prescribed 2 Oxy 40s a day, 8 Perk 10s. That was 1 Oxy 40 in the morning, 1 at night, and then the Perk 10s, 8 Perk 10s were for breakthrough pain. That was for 2 years. Anyway, leading up to 2017, somewhere around 2017, early 2017, I failed a drug test at pain management. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that my doctor had told me, he said, you're the highest dose patient I've got out of 200. There's not going to be anything for you down the road. And I still didn't register that. You know, three 30 patches a month, one a day, you know. But anyway, how did it work? Oh, I failed a drug test, methamphetamines at the pain management. And he agreed to give me a 2-week step down, hydrocodones, a week's worth of 7.5s, 5 a day, I think it was, and then 1 week of 5s. I was on everything there is, the Opanas, you name it, the morphine sulfate. The thing about the morphine, you could crush the Opanas and snort them, you could crush the oxys and snort them, until they put the coating on the oxys, and you couldn't hardly crush them. You had to suck on them forever to be able to crush them and snort them. I abused everything. The morphine sulfate, the only way you could get a good fix off of that, they said, was melt it down in water, take a needleless syringe, and squirt it up your hind end. And I thought, oh my God, I do construction. I thought, oh my God, all that work I'm gonna have to do. How many trips am I gonna have to make to the crapper to do that? I was like, I can't do that. Doc, you gotta give me another medication, you know? So I was on everything.
So how'd you pop for methamphetamine if you were getting those pills from there?
Because I do everything. I do everything. Yes, there's nothing off limits. I am but I go to work. I bring home money, but I'm constantly inebriated, some form of alcohol, drug, whatever, narcotic, legal, illegal, didn't matter. Anyway, I got popped, and he put me on the step down, and I came off of those after 2 weeks, and my wife had been talking to a friend who knew something about kratom, and she had explained to my wife, this is how she got off of the pills, was with kratom. So I went on a kratom binge for about a month. And that stuff there, she was buying it in bulk, man, like freaking big bags. She had distributors she had hooked up with. And I was spending about $100 a week on that. And you can take enough kratom that it will inebriate you. Believe that, I know for a fact. If I just taken what she had said to take, I'd have been okay. But I like double, triple, and man, I was in IGA one day and I was bouncing down the hall or bouncing down the aisles. I know it'll mess you up. I could hardly get out of checkout. But then a buddy showed up, a good friend of mine. He's a brother from a different mother and father. He's no blood relation, but he is a brother to the core. I love him. He loves me. He had done 7 years over methamphetamines. And I don't know, he showed up at my house, hadn't seen him in a while, showed up, good, love you, you know, good seeing you. Because we were ride and die, you know, from the age of 12 to 35, whatever it was, 37. Anyway, he busted out some meth, and I stayed up all night, and we fucked around picking up rocks and shit. And I was like, all right, man, I can do this. I'm off the pills, but I need something. And this meth will work. Now, the difference in the meth in 2017 and 1990, 91, I was doing meth in 91 too. In 1991, you did one line, about toothpick size, and it's a fact, brother, you are not sleeping. 24 hours, I don't care. You're drawn up, you can't eat. It was so strong. So strong. And in 2017, you had to do a lot more. You had to do 3 lines, big ones to stay up.
You think that was your tolerance, or you think that was the drug?
No, I hadn't been on meth.
Gotcha.
It's like a new drug again. But the problem with it in 2017, you got to do more and it costs more. But that's my drug of choice, and alcohol. I ended up, I got a good friend. He's an alcoholic. But he introduced me to spice. And the first time I smoked spice, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to be stuck in this world where everything is crazy. And, you know, when I get my lead at a recovery house and there's 30 or 50 people, I always ask, I say, who likes spice? And everybody's like, no, out of 50, but one or two throw their hand up. And I tell them, I say, you're messed up. You're messed up like I am. We like that. And there's definitely something wrong with you and me, because everybody knows. Everybody in the room has done it. And they're like, hell no, not again. Won't ever. But there was one rule, and in the 4 years I adhered to the rule of spice. My buddy who introduced it to me, he's like, hit it one time and put it down. And man, for 3 years or so, I am so out there. I'm seeing scripture in the air. I'm trying to write it down because everywhere I look, there's words, scripture. I go write it down, and my wife comes out and she sees what's going on. I had that little shed out there, and she throws it in the fire, and I'm disappointed because that was biblical. How am I getting biblical scripture in the air? I'm writing it down, and you're going to come out here and fuck everything up. So I think I mentioned the scripture in the air and the portals. I didn't tell you about the portals I'm seeing in triangular shapes anywhere outside. It didn't matter, a power line and a telephone pole and an intersecting line. If I'm high on spice, I'm seeing portals. I'm in my shed. I built this shed like in 4 days, cost me $0. I used pallets and leftover material. But I need somewhere to put tools and stuff, but it ended up becoming what the wife called she shed. I don't know why she called it a she shed, but it's where I did a lot of my drugs. So one day out there, I've got video of it, man. One day I'm out there, I got my hat off, it's hot, and I've got a double lead dog collar that you lead a dog with hanging just above my head. And I walked under that thing, and the two leads, like clasp, you know what I'm talking about for a dog? I walked under that thing, and something instantly grabbed me, and I am in contact with interdimensional beings. And I sit there, and this thing, I feel like it's going circular around my head, and I'm getting all these messages, and I record it, you know, and I'm just like, but what I guess I'm doing is this. I don't know. Because I never got the what I thought was the motion of the dog's collars going. I tried to redo it, and I recorded, and it didn't really work out the way it happened originally.
So what were you on?
Spice.
Just spice?
Spice and meth, alcohol.
Spice, meth, alcohol.
Yes.
That's the combination of portals.
Yes. Yes. Interdimensional beings.
Yeah.
So what was happening was I was out there. I mean, I worked so hard to keep a fire in the stove. This thing has no insulation. I had truckload after truckload of firewood brought in and busted up so I could stay out there and keep that wood burning stove blasting because it was cold as shit. So I always had something to do just to stay warm, to stay outside, because I didn't want to go inside because everybody knew I was messed up. I've got one text on my phone, or a screenshot of a text. It must have been around 20, end of 19 Christmas or end of 20 Christmas. My wife sent me a text. It's 4:30 in the morning on Christmas Eve, and she said, it is so sad that you are out there in that shed when you should be inside getting ready to open presents with your daughter. And I screenshotted that text. I've got it. But that's what I was doing. I booby-trapped this thing with electric fence wire, put up signs to the wife, keep out. You know what I mean?
So why did you screenshot it?
Because I wanted proof. I wanted to be able to find that. I wanted to be able to recall that. I didn't screenshot it then. I had to go back. I don't know how I got it screenshot, but I got it screenshot. My wife recorded me one time when I was on Spice, And it was the saddest thing you've ever seen. The saddest thing, about a 30-second clip, and we can't find it. It's terrible. I had dropped my daughter off to go softball practice, and I came home and smoked spice, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and the wife said, "You need to go get Georgia." I'm like, "Where is she?" And my wife was like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't know where she is." And in my mind, in my dream, I dreamt that she was going to a swim meet and she was meeting other people. And I still waiting on a phone call to find out where I got to meet them. So the wife is confronting me about, "You don't know where your child is?" I'm like, "Fuck no, I don't. Where is she?" And she's recording all this. It's terrible. But that wasn't enough to make me stop, for real. Okay, so she called the law on me 4 times. I got to tell this story real quick. One time, I'm so slick I thought it was, the wife had found a sack of spice in my jacket pocket. She called the police. And I'm sitting here trying to eat steak that my wife had prepared, steak and potatoes. And the police come in, and she's telling them that he brought spice in here, and he's always messed up on spice. And I look at her and I look at him. I said, "It looks like to me she's in possession of that spice right now." And she walks over and puts it in his hand. I said, "Now you're in possession of spice. Thank you. Good day. It's not mine. I don't know what the hell y'all talking about. You've done your job." I went back to eating. So I was in that mindset, F all y'all, you ain't slick enough. But the 4th time she called, they found meth and spice, locked me up. I went to jail over here. I don't remember how I bonded out or if they OR'd me, but I only spent one night. And then when I got out, I was so mad. I went to the bank and was going to take all of our $8,000 savings out, and she had already done it. She beat me to it, because I'm ready to go all the way. But I couldn't go anywhere because I don't have any money. And it was like COVID hit that day. Anyway, I'm still in active addiction. COVID hits. I've got this court case pending. They're saying everything's shut down. The government shut down. It seems like I already said this. The government shut down. Schools are shut down. Courts are shut down. Stay home, the president said. Mask mandates and all that. So during that 8 months of everything being shut down, I had made calls to family members that are in prestigious places in local government. My cousin is the county attorney over here in Hardin County. And I reached out to her. I was like, "I need a favor, trying to hang me over this stuff." So 8 months later, when I show up to court, all the phone calls I'd made, all that stuff worked. The prosecutor and the judge, they called my name, case number and all that, and I got up there, and the judge says, "Have we come to a conclusion or decision," however they said it, "what we're going to do with Mr. Sanders?" And the prosecutor said, "Yes, we're going to probate this, we're going to probate that. Credit for time served and a $450 fine." And said that is if Mr. Sanders can pass the drug test today. I went into court wiping a ring off my nose because I snort meth all the time, pills and whatever I can get my hands on. Later, the judge told me, he said, "I knew you were so messed up." I've ended up went back to him and make amends. I probably won't get into that, but it's a good story. So they give me 15 minutes to go to Bluegrass Counseling to get a drug screen.
Yeah, you mentioned that you used your neighbor's pee.
Did we record that?
Yeah.
How did we get there? Oh, we backed all the way up and went over.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know what happened.
Yep.
That I spent 8 days in St. Manuel. Yes, we got to Isaiah house before we started over. Okay, so I got to Isaiah house. And man, you talk about shock, because there was 100 people running around, and there was a lot of people recovering, and it's Christ faith-based. And, I was really really, really didn't know what to expect. And looking back, man, it was the greatest experience of my life. I love that place. Everything has faults, every recovery, but I'm gonna tell you, they try hard. They're a nonprofit outfit like Bethany Home. Um, I just have the utmost respect for Isaiah House. So anyway, I put together 122 days of sobriety. It's world record type stuff because I never had done it. And the judge had told me, how did it go? There was a discrepancy in the time. Okay, what happened was I'm in Isaiah House, and after 30 days, they do an assessment. And I stayed in front of the judge on the monitor, and he said, I hear you're doing pretty well over there. He said, you look a lot better than you did the last time I seen you, son. He said, that's what he told me. He said, I knew you were messed up. I hear you wanted to go to sober living. I said, yes, sir. Where would you like to go? I said, Etown, be closer to my family, only place I could find. So he said, okay, do that and do 60 days of sober living and you're done. That was the first miracle. I had a 6-month sentence. He cut it in half and didn't even know he cut it in half. So I left Isaiah House after 30 days and I ended up at the sober living in Etown. And let me tell you something. I commend anybody that could graduate that program. I have to use this as an example. When you get to the lighthouse, they're going to pound this book down your throat from 5:30 to 10:15 at night. They're going to pound this book down your throat. After 2 weeks of that stuff, I tapped.
5:30 in the morning.
Till 10:15 at night. You're in this book. You're at class, and when you're not in class, down your throat all the time. And I said, F y'all. I said, I can't take this shit. So I called back to Isaiah House, and there was a couple of days before they let me come back. Anyway, so I'm telling it's hard to do. I'm telling everybody at Isaiah House that I'm leaving in 50 days because the judge already said, do 60 days of sober living and you're done.
You're already bragging. You're already bragging.
Yeah, I'm living and I'm sober. I mean, it may not be the same thing, but it's sober living. 60 days, I'm leaving. They said, we'll hold you in contempt. So they ended up having to go back and rewind the damn tapes in court and find out the judge had made that statement before I was going to be released. Okay, so it was November, I think. I left Isaiah House after 90 days. It was supposed to be 6 months. I did 90 days. And that time I had 122 days of sobriety because I came home and I had a month and a couple of days. And then I'm out there in that shed. I didn't realize I was restless, irritable, and discontent, but I was. And I was out there in that shed, tinkering around, looking for something. No plan of using. I guarantee I would have passed the lie detector test that day. I'm sober. No plans of using. And I pulled out a little plastic drawer that holds screws and nuts and bolts, and there's a bud of weed. Ain't no telling how long it's been in there. My mind instantly looked down for an aluminum can, popped the holes, had that thing in there, fired up. Before I even realized what happened, I knew I'd fucked up my sobriety date. And then I was straight to the liquor store. And for another month, I'm running wide open on spice, meth, weed, whatever I can get my hands on. Finally, the wife sends me, I go back to rehab. But like I said, I had 5 intake dates at Isaiah House. I mentioned my sobriety date. It's August 2nd, 2021. This is a more important date that I'm getting ready to tell you. It's April 5th of 2021. I'm in rehab for the 5th time. And this being a faith-based thing, they teach you a little bit how to pray. And I'm laying there on the bed in the morning, and I realize, fuck. I'm looking straight up at the bottom of another boy's bed, because that's what you are on boy beds. And I start crying. And I'm praying to God, and I slide out of bed onto my knees for the first time in my life that I ever get on my knees and pray. Now, I'd made lots of breath prayers throughout my life, but the first time I gained a little bit of humility, and I got down on my knees in front of other men, And I cried out to God, help me, I need you. It says, call on me and I'll be there. I did that. I surrendered. And there wasn't any angels singing like there was in my LSD trip. There wasn't a blast, a flash light, or nothing like that. Nothing showed up. But something in me changed at that moment. Do you know how I know looking back? Because every day since April 5th of 2021, I start my day off sliding out of bed onto my knees, praying, God, thank you for allowing me to wake up sober. That for me is the answer. It tells us in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, God does for us what we can't do for ourselves. My friend Bob here told me a story about a rice farmer who couldn't determine whether or not it was good or bad. He didn't know that the big plan, what happened when I thought was all bad, was the best fucking thing that ever could have happened to me. So, I ended up after that, I'm praying, and I went to the people at Isaiah House, and I told them that I needed long-term, and they agreed to keep me. So now, at this point, I've talked to the founder of the place, Mark LaPalme, and I met him in the hallway, and they weren't trying to let me stay, but I met Mark LaPalme in the hallway, and I confronted him, I grabbed him, and I said, Mark, Mr. LaPalme, I said, they're trying to put me out, and they said I needed long-term when I came here. I need help. I need long-term. And Mark LaPalme, being a very spiritual person, he grabbed me by the arms. He said, son, when somebody gets a hold of me the way you've gotten a hold of me, now I've got a hold of you, you're going to get your long-term here if you want it. I said, thank you, praise God. Now, what happened after that? That let my head grow, my mouth gets slick. I've got some issues going on internally. I'm telling the nurses all about themselves and how they're not treating me right and they should be treating me. Well, let me tell you, that slick mouth the next day got me a medical discharge 45 days in. I get home and the wife is kind of like blown away. What are you doing home? I said, they kicked my ass out. A couple of days passed. She said, you need to go back to rehab. I said, baby, no, I can't. They kicked me out. And she said, well, such and such is going to AA. And the light went off because I'd been to AA in 2009. So what happened was I said, okay, maybe you're right. And I drive my own ass down to Serenity Club this time. And I walked in before the meeting and I'm not nearly as terrified. I'm not nearly as hungover. I've got over 45 days of sobriety at this point. And I know I have a little bit of understanding. Don't know shit about shit, but I have understanding they're going to read something. And they read that preamble, then they read how it works, and then they read the traditions, and then lo and behold, kiss my ass. They're still talking about them fucking promises. And I'm going to tell you something. This is my experience with the promises. And I'm going to share this with you. This is what I do. If I promise you, when I slap these hands together, it's going to sting and make a loud noise. That's a promise. It's also a fucking fact. The promises of Alcoholics Anonymous are facts for me. All I have to do is be willing to believe in a power greater than myself. I have to surrender. I got to do a few simple steps. We will comprehend the word serenity and we'll know peace. Now, how important is that? To not be afraid of people and money troubles, how important is that? These are the promises, 9th and 10th steps, promises of Alcoholics Anonymous. They're my favorite readings. So I got a sponsor, started working the steps. One, admitted we were powerless over alcohol. That our lives had become unmanageable. It was pretty obvious to me that my life had become unmanageable and that I realized I'm powerless. when I put that in me. And we have to work that step 100%. So what's the program teaches? Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to what?
Sanity.
Now you got my attention because I have been insane. Step 3, I worked that in rehab, made a decision, turned my will and my life over to the care of God. Is I understand him. My God and your God are definitely not the same. Don't have to be. Absolutely not. Even if you believe in Jesus, I believe in Jesus, your Jesus looks different than mine. It doesn't matter. You can believe in creative intelligence, the universe, nature, doesn't matter. Just a power greater than yourself to get started. You have to have a sponsor to work step 4. Made a fearless moral inventory of herself. My sponsor kept me on step 4 for 6 months until a 6-month part. Till I got to 6 months clean, he was not going to let me work my 4th and 5th step. I was mad, going to fire his ass because I'd been told in my sponsor's here in LaRue County. He's got 41 years of sobriety. I'm in Etown going to these meetings at high noon, and I'm talking to these people who got 20 and 30 years, and they say, you should be further along in your steps than that at 6 months. So I come in right here to this building, and I grab my sponsor. I said, I need to talk to you. I had in my mind I'm going to fire his ass. And I got in there with Hiram, and we sat down. He said, what's going on? I said, this is what's going on, Hiram. I said, the people over in Etown said I should be a little further along in my steps than we are. He said, tell them mind their own fucking business. Now, this is a Christian. He said, you tell them mind their own fucking business. I'm taking you through the steps the way I'm taking you through the steps. And at that moment, I was convicted. I have an undying love for him because he knew what I needed where I didn't. He did a house call on me one time, came out through me in my madness before I cleaned up. My wife had called and he came out. So he knew what I needed. I didn't know. These people over here, they didn't know either. He knew. So anyway, worked through my 4th and 5th step. Took a couple hours. But I'm going to share something at this moment. I have jumped out of airplanes twice at 14,500 feet, Air King in Bardstown. It's nearly 3 miles high. You get the free fall for 60 seconds. You're praying the whole way down. And when you hit the ground and you're safe, you thank God, and your confidence level, you get a euphoric feeling and adrenaline rush like you've never experienced. Okay. After I worked my 4th and 5th step and admitted to God, myself, and to another human being the exact nature of my wrongs, all the sexual deviancy stuff that I was going to take to the grave, I'm not going to mention it on camera because I'm not going to put my family in it, but all those things that I did that were wrong, I talked about it and got it off my chest. And after we worked my 5th step, I stood up, I walked right out of this building, and I am a new creature. I no longer carry the baggage of all that shit that I had been carrying. Step 6, help me out.
I don't know.
Step 6 is character defects. Huh?
It's probably right in front of that.
Yeah, step 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. The way me and my sponsor did that was through prayer and us just sitting down and talking. Step 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. You know, in the book, you go through 6, 7, 8, 9. The way we went, it took forever to get there, but then you get to 6, 7, 8, 9, it's all on one page. And we blasted through them. Step 10, continue. Is that right? Yeah, continue to take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admitted it. I'm not that good at that yet, but I'm working on it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. Praying for what? Only for knowledge of his will for us, and then the power to carry it out. And then I like to share that the step 12 is the prize. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, which I had to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. I fall short, but you better believe I'm a lot better than I was 4 years ago.
And we're at no way, shape, or form talking as AA.
No.
We're just explaining.
How my life has gone.
Right.
Just
You're
my
not
personal.
a spokesperson to AA.
No, absolutely not. I'm just talking about my experience, what has happened to me, and what transformed my life.
Right.
Now, to get to what happened after that, work. I don't think you never complete the steps because it says continued and tried. These are ongoing words. One day, I went to over 500 meetings in 300 days. I don't think you can burn out. But somewhere in the back of the book, it talked about how Bill and Bob had sought out alcoholics to help them because they thought they were onto something that helping working with another alcoholic saves the day. So after a meeting in Etown, it was high noon. I'm working for myself at that time, pecking around doing what I need to do, making a few dollars. My house payment's not much. Got my own little roofing business, I call it. So I'm going to a ton of meetings, and after a meeting one day, I go back in. I left the building, and Kenneth Anderson, he had the keys to the building, and he's walking out, and I'm already across the road, and I'm like, wait a minute, Kenneth, I want to buy a book. Okay, so he goes back, opens the door at Serenity Club. We go in. He said, I'll split it with you. I think it's $12, $13, something. He said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I want to take this book to somebody. It says in here they kind of sought after, and if I do what they did, I'm going to stay sober. So he said, I'll go with you. And we left the Sobriety Club on a mission to find a drunk to talk to and just mainly give them a book and let them know that there's a better way. You know, I don't know what you call it other than doing what the book suggests. So we went to, I don't know, man, it was 4 or 5 places. Because you can't get in the hospital. Back in the day, you could go, they let you go into the hospital and talk to a drunk. Today, because of HIPAA and all that crap, they wouldn't even let you pass the desk. So we struck out at the hospital. And they sent us somewhere else and somewhere else. And finally, they said, maybe don't. So Kenneth and I have been all over town trying to give away his damn book for about an hour and a half now. And finally, we get over and we tap on the door, ring the buzzer, whatever it was, and said, we're here. We'd like to give away the book. They said, well, that's great. We kind of need you. Said the speaker that was going to speak canceled. You're here. That would be great. My heart fluttered because he was talking to me. And I thought, oh my God, I've never given my lead ever. And Kenneth and I agreed I was going to do it. We went out. I got chills all over my body. He and I went out to the truck, held hands, men holding hands. I could tell a man I love him today. I never did that shit before. It never was going to come out of my mouth. Today I can tell you I love you. You know what I mean that? A man. And there's nothing wrong with that. We held hands and prayed. And I went in there and I did the best I could at giving my lead and realized I got through it. And I felt pretty good about it because it was something I was terrified of doing, speaking in front of people. In high school, one reason I made it through my senior year, we had to recite some damn speech or something. And our teacher was 84 years old. And I had a piece of paper that had the Declaration of Independence, fine little big print. I just sat up there and read it. She sat over here and didn't know because I always have had a fear of speaking in front of people. Anyway, after I got through that, talked to my sponsor. He said, "You're ready. You're ready." You know, he said he wouldn't let me do that before. He said, "I don't want you messing anybody up." He said, "Let's get a year first. Get through your 12 step." And then we got through it and he turned me loose. And today I can't wait to talk to someone about God, AA, recovery. And what happened after Kenneth and I dropped that book off, it was Kenneth's idea, and I have to back him 100%, that we decided we were going to pull our money and we were going to start a sober living thing. We had no idea, none, how to do it. What we had was a desire to help someone. Instead, working with others, it says, nothing will so much as ensure immunity from alcohol as intensive work with others. The book and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm not advocating for Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm just saying this is my experience. I take suggestions out of that book. And so the name Bethany Home, if you're not familiar with Bethany, it blew me away. I was talking to Kenneth. He came up with a name. I'm like, Bethany? Thank God there wasn't some girl from my past. It could have been any name, but now Bethany. And he explained to me, he said, Bethany is the name of the town where Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. He was dead in the city of Bethany. There were Bethanites. And Jesus came and told him come out. So I was like, man, that's right. We can reach a hand out. We may not bring back the dead, but it's a helping idea. And so it was born. I mean, we made 1,000 mistakes. Can't even count them. From getting a legitimate business license to over-occupying motels, had 30-something clients, just running buck wild, made 1,000 mistakes, have invested a ton of money. But what's working today, we're getting a better understanding of how it works. And for us, it just took the desire to get started. And Bethany Home was born, you know.
So how long has Bethany Home been a thing?
Coming up on 2 years.
Coming up on 2 years.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that you made some mistakes.
1,000.
What's one or two of the mistakes that don't completely throw someone under the bus or anything like that?
Oh.
What's some mistakes that you made?
Well, the business license, we're renting rooms out at a motel in Etown and calling it our name, but it's another name, so you can't have two names for the business. The city came in and shut us down. And then we, what do you call it, I can't think of the word. We went to somebody over him, and he said, the city official said, don't move your clients. We're going to be able to make this work. And then a week later came back, said, don't care where you put them, you got to go. So we ended up dispersing our clients to Radcliffe. We had 30-something clients at that time. And we just, 100 mistakes, man, 1,000 mistakes. From transportation issues to hiring staff that were, we thought were going to help us in ways. And turns out they ended up getting charged with possession of a handgun by a felon, failing piss test. Our main director, head of everything, he's still on paper, having to get paper signed in court. Well, we find out that he's been paying the drug test guy off to pass his P, and he finally got caught. So when I say we've made mistakes, we have made mistakes, and lots of the way I learn. I'm an alcoholic. I learn from my mistakes. I have to do everything the hard way. I used to have to do everything the hard way. Today, I try to recognize wisdom, and wisdom to me is learning. I can see somebody else stick their hand on the stove and it burns them, and I don't have to be so damn intrigued that I have to go over to see if it's going to burn me too. I can take that, and that's what I call wisdom. Learning from somebody else, you know. I don't have to do everything the hard way today. You know, this Bethany Home, we have grown. We have people that have reunited with families that have become productive members of society. We've had several clients reach over a year of sobriety. Yeah, there's been failures. We had a failure this morning. Had a guy at 12:30 last night passed out on the couch, spice in his pocket, rolling a joint. We can't control that. But what we can do is not let him stay at our program, period. Yeah, we'll try to get you some help. But if you don't want help and you're not trying to get sober, doesn't matter. You can't stay here. So that's what we've ended up doing today is discharging. We are a Christ faith-based program. We try to follow in the footsteps of Isaiah House, which is a nonprofit organization. Nobody owns anything. It belongs to Isaiah House. Same thing with Bethany Home. We don't own anything. It all belongs to Bethany Home.
So you say we. So you're not the only founder.
I'm the vice president. The president is Kenneth Anderson. Secretary and treasurer is Jen Smith. So there's three of us that started this endeavor. We have invested a ton of money. We have not recouped any of it. If you want to know the truth, I've got $1,800 back on $39,500 investment.
What keeps you going then?
Well, we've got guys that are in 3-quarter status. We have four sober living apartments. We are allowed 5 clients. We don't stack them in there like cordwood, like some of the other places I was in one place that had 3 sets of bunk beds in each bedroom. 6, 12. You're allowed 5 in any dwelling, period. So we're abiding by the damn rules. So that amount of money that comes in off 5 is nowhere near like what comes in off of 12. So that's the only reason we're surviving. And we've dipped into our savings and we've built a reputation that we're going to be here. We're here for the community. We are trying to help the problem. And that is what it is all about for us 3, is working with others. Because without me trying to help somebody else, I start thinking about me. That's what I do. I've been so selfish, self-centered all my life. Thought only about me.
So I've seen, I've worked with you guys a little bit, and I've heard that Robert, I heard he came through your all's program.
Yeah.
So what's it like seeing a guy come in at one of his worst times?
His lowest.
And then to where he's at today, because
It's a beautiful thing.
Can you explain what he does and then what it was like to see him
progress? Well, Robert French is, he's our program director. He does a lot for us, a lot. For him to come through where he was and do all the classes that he has, and then for us to entrust him with the duties that we have on him.
After being burned by other...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, after being burned by other people, we've learned, and we were very fortunate to find Robert French, who is serious about his recovery. And I just overheard him the other day at a meeting. He didn't even know I was listening. He said, guys, he said, whether or not you know it, I need you more than you need me. And he's talking to a room full of guys. So the whole thing about what we do is a paradoxical, it's a conundrum. It doesn't make sense. To keep it, you got to give it away. The hell does that even mean? But when you find yourself in trying to help people in recovery, you end up going to meetings and you end up going to classes and you end up realizing you figure out what that means. That means in order for me to remain a productive member of society, for me to be what I am supposed to be, what I am, I have to help another person. That's all there is to it. What I have to do is be a maximum service to God and to another human being. If I achieve those things, I'm not going to put things in my body. I'm not going to, it's an impossibility. My sponsor, I had a problem with my sponsor asking, I said, I don't understand, Hiram. They said, well, you got to put God first. You got to put recovery first. Well, you can't put them both first. I said, so what? He said, well, what is your recovery? I said, God. He said, there you go. And what I have found is when I attempt to put God first in everything I do it in brief spurts, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 10, maybe I've lasted 30 seconds, and then I might not do it for another week. But the times when I put God first, when I put God first, that means right here, right there at this moment, I have to be thinking, God, help me to get words out of my mouth that make sense. Help me to send a message that is going to be helpful. I have to thank God when I get on that motorcycle that I make it safely home. If I put God first, just in my inner being, my life has grown exponentially. My daughter, when I was in the Spice, she was 12 or 13 years old. I was arguing with my wife. She came down and said, Dad, she was screaming this, Dad, I wish you would leave or even die. Just go. We don't want you here. That didn't stop me, didn't deter me, whatever. Today, my daughter, who's going to be 17, our bed's over here in the hallway and the steps, and she goes up to her room at night. I don't even have to say anything. I can see her start up the steps, but then she turns around and comes back. She comes around side of the bed and says, Dad, I love you. I don't fight with my wife. My daughter is so proud of me. I don't know how to explain it, man. My life is better than it has ever been, Bobby. I laugh. Belly laughs. I never did that shit. My life today is because everything had to happen the way it happened for me to get where I am today. It took a long time. I didn't even tell you the story about me praying to Satan when I was 15 years old after me and a friend broke into a store downtown and he cut his hand and we broke in anyway and stole a bunch of damn change. Well, the police tracked us like a bloodhound. It wasn't hard to see. There was a trail of blood leading right to his house. They caught us. The police show up at my house. Mom said there's no way he'd have done it. Well, I did. And we're going to court and they're going to put my ass on probation for 2 years. And it's not the results I want. I'm not going to be able to go to football or baseball or whatever. I got to sit my ass down. So I took my ass down to the cemetery in Etown. And I may have prayed to God before that, but I wasn't getting the results I wanted. And I sat down on a tombstone and I prayed to Satan. Truth. I said, Satan, if you get me out of this mess, I'll be in debt. And let me tell you, for 38 years, 38, he honored that bet. And until the day that he released me is the day that I made a decision to turn my life and my will over to care of God as I understood him. The day I slid out of bed onto my knees, April 5th, 2021. Better than any fucking date. Bigger than any date. It's the day I surrendered. And that's what you have to do.
You've been sober ever since?
Yeah. I'm not going to drink or use again. Period. Because I am plugged in. I've got people counting on me. I have to show up to staff meetings. I have to show up to classes. And it's not like I have to, but I must. Because that's the way I stay sober. You know? I don't know much more I can say, Bobby. I mean, my life is exponentially better. I was in a motorcycle club. I went to Founders Day. When you're in a stadium with 10,000 people at an AA meeting and they're counting down sobriety dates and all the way down to 24 hours and that one person's got 24 hours and everybody's applauding for that one person is the most amazing thing. And then when 10,000 people hold hands at the end of an AA meeting and say the Lord's Prayer, I don't know how to explain it. I'm going back. It's coming up June 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah, gotta go.
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. I'll be there.
So how does your role at Bethany Home allow you to use your experience to help others?
How's my role? Well, I'm not, just to be perfectly honest, from a financial point, like I said, we've spent a ton of money and made very little return, if any. I'm not able to be as hands-on as I want to be. My heart and soul and mind stay in it, but what I could do, I could be the third ear. I can be the person that's going to answer the phone. I'm going to talk about the issues. I'm going to help resolve anything that I can. I am there for maximum benefit of another person. If you need a ride, you need a loan, you need a book, you need food, that is what I am able to do today. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Did you have any specific goals when you started Bethany Home? Did you specifically have any specific goals for it?
If I'm going to be 100% honest, we went and talked to Marco Palm, my partners and I, Kenneth and Jen. We went and talked to Marco Palm, sat down with him for an hour long, put a phone on the table and recorded it. He was perfectly fine with it. An hour long of him talking about how he did it. They started 30 years ago with one drunk off the road in him and his wife's basement. He said, Jason, I got a $35 million budget this year. What do you think went off in my head? Ding, 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 money. He said, if I had went nonprofit, he said, I'd be worth $38 million today. He said, but that's not what the Lord wanted me. He said, we went nonprofit. I got a $35 million budget. He said, I provide a good service. I get a salary of $180,000 a year. He said, I expect to be compensated for my service. We provide a good service. And I'm going to tell you, I can't say enough about Isaiah House. That is the footsteps in which we want to go. I think hand in hand, originally, you sock a bunch of money in and you think return on your money, but really at the heart of it, it's about helping somebody. And in order to help somebody, it takes money. And in order to grow, it takes money. So I don't really know, man, what came first, to be honest.
So it sounds like
the book delivered to somebody had nothing to do financially. It was a God-given idea to go help someone. But then it developed into, well, we got to make money to make this thing work. That's where we are.
So has your goals changed to
No.
today?
No, we want to grow. We want to grow, and we're staying nonprofit. That's something that all these other outfits around town, none of them can say one outfit. And I think there's 167 recovery entities in Elizabethtown. And we are one of two nonprofits.
So how do you measure success at the program at Bethany Home?
Well, the way I look at success is people who continue to get substantial sobriety. Because I know in my heart, if we're doing what's right, then we're not going to be wrong. We can't fail. It won't happen. We're producing members of society that are successful. Continue to do that, and you got a winning program. That's how I feel. And that's what we're trying to do. Sure, there's people that are not ready, like the one guy this morning. But we have others that have and have moved on. We're not trying to keep our clients forever. We're getting them ready for life. You come to our program, you do IOP, you do OP, you go to 3/4, you have progressed along the steps. We have given you the tools to get out on your own, stay plugged in, and become productive members of society. And we've got a few successes. I wish I could say we had more.
So how do you handle the failures?
The
Or
failures?
How do you handle the ones that aren't ready?
Oh, it's devastating to the heart. It really hurts. It hurts. And that's the part of it. That's the part of the business. Like I said in the beginning, I didn't really, just the desire to want to make things better, had no idea the heartache that was going to come with it. The failures did not consider that. Not in our program, but I'm going back up just a little bit. In my 12 and 12 book, I started writing names down in 2020 when I went to Isaiah House. I stopped at 29 people. Both pages are full of people I prayed with, cried with, ate with, hugged, and loved that are no longer with us as a direct result of alcoholism and addiction. People are dying all over the place. I feel like it is the people who have been through it and that are recovered. We are the answer. We are the hope. The others are not doing it. We've been there. We know what works. And that's the whole goal, is to help, you know. There's too many people dying, man. Too many people dying. Kids. I got a getting ready to be 17-year-old daughter. Say she asses around and gets handed a Perk 5 or a hydrocodone 5. That's what we did growing up. Smoked weed. Today, the shit has the chemical fentanyl in it that will kill you. Like that. One pill. One hit. And I am doing it, hopefully, in helping my daughter to stay away from it. She is proud of me. Don't get it wrong. We've had some sit downs. She's hit a couple bumps in the road, and you better believe we got in that book. We read the first 3 steps. Cried every damn day. She hasn't had any more bumps. Now, do I expect that to be the end of experimentation with alcohol or drugs? Hell no. But I do know that I have planted the seed in her little mind, and that she'll know where to get help if she ever encounters addiction. I'm very thankful for my partners. I have to express that. Kenneth Anderson and Jen Smith. When we started this endeavor, you know, it was all 3 of us, hands on, and really trying and struggling and getting things going, moving, getting apartments, spending money, and just chaotic. And it came down to it, you know, I had to put my family first. I'm getting ready to starve my family out because I've invested all my money and my time. I'm not working as much as I should be because I'm involved. And it hurts me that I have taken a back seat because I have to put my family first. I haven't even got to talk about John. 6 months ago, okay, in 2020, the same judge sent my ass to jail and rehab. 2 years later, granted my wife and I permanent custody of this young autistic boy. The same judge who saw what I was and where I am granted us custody of a kid that needs help. Do you think it's not? I didn't know I was going to have an autistic boy. Didn't know. But today, I have to think of somebody else other than me. And he's the most beautiful thing, trying and troubling, but the most beautiful, helpful individual I've ever met.
And you couldn't have taken care of him as in your addiction.
Man, I went months without washing my hair.
Right.
I mean, I wore the same clothes for weeks.
Right.
I didn't go inside.
Right.
I stayed outside like a damn animal.
Yeah.
Today I shower 4 or 5 times a week.
Right. So, you say 3 founders.
Yes.
You don't have to talk about it, but how is it? Because normally when a business is, you got your CEO, you got employees, you got one head. How is it with 3 heads at the top?
It's not at the top. Kenneth Anderson's at the top.
Gotcha.
He took on the role as president, and he works his butt off. And I understand his struggles because he's there all the time, and it's a lot to take on. I can help when I can help, and anyway, I'll try to help. But it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure, and maybe eventually I will be a lot more hands-on. My heart is there, and I want to be able to help him out more than I have been able to, period.
So what would have to happen before you could do that kind of full time?
Well, we'd have to have more income through the business, period. Straight blank. I mean, that's all there is to it. Got to have some form of income, and we're just barely getting by, you know. I mean, we're not making any money, I told you. But the way things are headed, with us being able to send people to therapists and counselors, we're going to be able to our money intake is going to go up, and hopefully, again, we are only entitled to salary, a reasonable salary. That's the law of being a nonprofit. You can't just take money and call yourself a nonprofit. There's rules and regulations as to how much you can take. I mean, I'd like to have a return on my investment, period. And then if it develops into something greater, that would be most awesome. You know, I know a couple people in recovery that have bought $65,000, $70,000 Mustangs, $45,000 Harleys, and boats, and building big new facilities. And they're helping a lot of people. They are. I think what separates us, man, is we want to be a nonprofit organization. It's not about the money. It's really not. I would like to turn our 20 to 30 clients into 30 to 3, our 20 to 30 clients into 300, 200 or 300.
So that's my next question is like, what is your hopes for the future for Bethany Home?
I'd like to have 200 clients, help as many people as we can.
You kind of mentioned a facility.
Yes.
How sweet would that be?
That would be most awesome. But it takes money to do that, right? The people who are building these new facilities, they're not doing it out of their pocket.
Right.
They're making money. And that's what it takes. I mean, we had a fundraiser yesterday, first one ever. I was terrified. But we got one fundraiser under our belt now, don't we, Bob?
Right. Yeah, that was a thing.
It was something else.
That was a thing.
But
you want to talk about that?
Man. Well, the camera doesn't see my good friend Bobby. My good friend Bobby helped prepare all of this thing, man. He is such a vital role in this, even what we're doing right here today. I love this guy. This is so far out of my comfort zone, but we're doing it, and I'm going to be forever indebted to him just because we have bonded and we're doing something special. Even if we get one view or none, I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm in front of a freaking camera and lights, microphones. And here I am, the scared little boy that has to recite off paper in high school because he's so terrified talking in front of people. We are the very fortunate, blessed ones. We have found the solution.
Right. We're not going back out.
Not going back out. And there's so many people that don't have a clue. Like we are very, 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 very fortunate to have ended up where we are today.
And you can see
it's a miracle.
You can see it.
In what?
When someone's got their foot out the door.
Oh, yeah.
When it hadn't clicked yet.
Yeah.
And it's not that like, I feel like I need to be on camera right now, but it's not like that we are better.
No.
you know, it's not like we're looking down on them.
Right.
When we realize that they are 1 foot out the door and in the door, they're gonna, you know, they got more pain coming.
Yeah.
It's almost out of sadness.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's grief.
Grief. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because you know what's coming. And if you're not careful, their name's going to be in my book.
Right.
And it's sad, you know, want to be able to help everybody. But until someone is willing to just give it up. You know, after a relapse, I had a guy, a good friend of mine, David Kay. I showed back up to a meeting after it been a few months, and he looked at me square in the eye, and he said, "Man, are you taking a break, or are you fucking done?" And that hit me like, damn. All these other times, I was really just taking a break, get the fire put out, make somebody else happy. And it just affected me. I had a realization, I am done. I am tired of being embarrassed. My name has been in the paper so many times in Hardin County and LaRue County for different charges, 4 DUIs. That's just the ones they caught me at, right? I had to get better at 4 DUIs, 1 high-speed police chase, 2 gun shooting charges, arson, many drunk and disorderly, public intoxication, car wrecks, head-on collisions because nobody chickened out, embarrassing my family, written out of the will, and then written back in the will, are all of the things that have came into fruition because the willingness to stop thinking about me so much and try to help somebody else. For real, that's what we do.
So earlier in the story, you talked about the promises. How you were like, what the hell's this?
Yeah, like what the? I know what a promise is. And you're not gonna feed me a line of shit.
And then you talked about how the promises came true.
Yes.
Can you explain what those promises are and how it changed?
There may be some wrongs we can never fully right, but we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. I could probably recite it.
You don't have to recite the whole
Right,
thing.
right. Well, fear of economic people and insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize, this is the kicker, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. If I could have got sober, if I could have quit the pill addiction, the opiate addiction, the meth addiction, the spice addiction, if I could have done that on my own, it would have been done. Because I so many times embarrassed my wife and felt so bad and wanted to quit and couldn't. We realize that God's doing for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. That is the beauty of it. To comprehend the word serenity and know peace, that I've got highlighted, underlined, square boxed around, asterisk on each side. Because being an alcoholic or an addict like myself, I never felt like I fit in. I was always short. I didn't hear the thing through the speaker at the end of school. I didn't make it to where I was supposed to be on time. I didn't fit in. I was intimidated, picked on. I just didn't fit in. Scared, terrified. And then I covered it up with alcohol and drugs for 30 years. And, to comprehend the word serenity and know peace, I think that's what most people want in life, is just to have some peace. And I got it through the 9-step promises. And then, we recoil from it as like from a hot flame. I was just about 6 months into sobriety, and me and the wife were laying on the bed, and she said, "I need your credit card." I pulled my wallet out. Now, this is 6 months clean, maybe 8 months. I pulled my wallet out, and damn, a little cellophane baggie of meth rolled up, looked like a white toothpick. Flipped out when that credit card came out. I looked at that, and I recoiled from it as from a hot flame. I said, "Get that out of here. I don't want to touch it. Go flush it, go." And that's what she did. And the instant reaction that happened, I wasn't thinking about the steps. I wasn't thinking about the promises. What happened was, and then I thought about we recoil from it. And that's what happens. The promises, man, are the most beautiful thing about the whole thing, the promises. And they are, you can count on a promise. A promise is a fact in my book, like I said.
So take a second to think about this.
I'll try.
Okay, but the man that the camera's looking at that I see today is a phenomenal man, phenomenal human being.
Thank you.
I love you to death. I respect you. I care about you. What would it look like if Jason would have never found recovery at 50 years old?
51.
What would 51-year-old Jason look like?
51 or 54? I'm 54 now.
Oh, excuse me, 54.
Yeah, I was my sobriety date's 50. I was 51 when I got sober.
So what would 54-year-old Jason look like?
In 2017, I weighed 121 pounds. I got a picture on my phone. I don't know if I showed you that, but in 2019, I looked like a skeleton. My wedding ring had slid off my finger. I lost it in the garden bed, the flower garden right at the bottom of the steps at our other house. Lost it for 2 weeks. The wife saw me running around without a wedding ring. We went and got another one. Put it on, wore it for a day or two, found the old one. Took the old one off, gave it away, put the new one on, and sliding back and forth. Went and got it resized because I'm 121 pounds. And now it's like barbed wire on a maple tree. Look at it. It's grown in. It's embedded. It won't come off. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I weigh 183 pounds today. I've got a picture of a then and now, and hand to God, I look older 5 years ago. Look older 5 years ago than I do today.
Right. So besides looks, what's the man that would be in front of me if you never found recovery?
Well, if I tell you I'm going to, and I let it slip up that, hey, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. In the past, I would have came up with an excuse not to. If I told you I was going to come help you change the tires or whatever, in the past, Mom's sick, I ain't going to make it. Because I wasn't about helping anybody but me. Today, truth is, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. I don't always get it right, but I learned that through a very, 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 he's not in Alcoholics Anonymous, he has nothing to do with it. I give Nick Rodas a lot of my love. He taught me so much at Isaiah House. Very, 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 very spiritual person. He said, mean what you say and say what you mean. And that's what I try to live by, But I screw up sometimes. But I have a little integrity. Like I said, I'm written back into the will.
Right.
Mom is proud. Dad is proud. Dad, it took him, he's 82 years old. And at 80 years old, I think it was the first time he ever said he's proud of me. Cried, and we have a relationship now that's better. I mean, I tell him I love him. We didn't say I love you growing up as a family. It was just odd. I heard other people saying that when they were leaving family reunions and stuff. Love you, love you more, love. We didn't say that shit growing up. Today, I say I love you. I hug more men, and I am a heterosexual, have no desire to be anywhere near a man. But when it comes to the rooms or it comes to helping somebody in need or distress, I will hug you because that's a love thing. And I know how to love today. I didn't know how to love myself. So that's a big difference. trying to not put me first, praying for God's will, not mine.
Any other characteristics I'd see of the man without recovery?
Yeah, you would have hated me. Just because I got a slick mouth. I like to fight. I will cuss you. I will spit venom. Would have. And if you want to take it outside, we'll go right now. Would have. I'm not cured of it. But today, I learned this phrase in one of the rehabs, Rosenwald, which was the 3 C's. And this is what one should do before speaking. And that is catch it before you check it, read it out loud, check it, and if need be, change it. Catch it, check it, change it. And do I always do that? No, especially when I get around my loudmouth family yelling and shit, we still yell. That's how we are. But I still can incorporate that catch it, check it, change it a little bit, and I get a little better every day because I don't put God first in everything. I do try to put God first in everything. It's terribly, 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 terribly difficult. Period. But when I do, I'm able to do things like catch it, check it, change it. I'm able to have integrity. I'm able to do what I say I'm going to do, be where I'm supposed to be, not lose my daughter. I didn't tell you one time, man, that house that we were at when I coughed and ruptured my disc, we were there 17 years. And the house payment went from $735 the first few years to $1,350 because of what we had to do. We had to keep refinancing to get pregnant, period. And so we ended up, couldn't afford it after 17 years, and had a gracious woman who I will call my grandmother. She's not my blood grandmother, but she is a lovely grandmother. She took us in right across the road. So for 3 years, man, I'm looking at my house that I paid for 17 years. People are remodeling. You talk about being in the low. But so this woman who, my daughter, she has 3 grandmothers. My mom, Janella's mom, and then Nana, Kathy, the woman who took us in when we were little, when she was little. And so one day, we're going to Nana's, me and Georgia, and I look down the floorboard and there's a little roach, just a little roach of spice. And I spot it. I instantly pull over on the way to Nana's with Georgia in the truck. And I was like, I think I got a flat tire. Hang on a minute. Get out, and I go around back, and I hit that and get back in. And she knows something's wrong. I'm having to GPS how to get to Nana's. Don't know how to get there. She said I was running off the road. I don't remember. Get over there, door opens up. She jumps out crying, runs to Nana. Nana's already there. And I get the worst cussing I ever got from that woman. You know, to see when I show up clean, sober, got a dad bod, I'm on a fat ass Harley, I'm doing well, people are like, wow. Thank God we knew you had it in you. I don't know if that one prayer to Satan fucked me all the way around, but it didn't help. You know? Yeah. I'm forever grateful to the justice system and my wife, God, AA, Isaiah House, and Lighthouse. And yeah, you know, I said I did pound that book down my throat. Today, I'll pound this down your throat. I will. And it's funny. That's a conundrum, a paradox. I hated y'all for trying to get me to get this. And today, what do I do? Go to meetings. It helps me stay sober. Because I got to help somebody else. I got to take somebody else through the steps.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
Well, I haven't talked about Aaron, who I have a great affection for, who has helped us in lots of different ways at Bethany Home. And I haven't given Robert the gratitude. I mean, I've spoke about him briefly, but without both of them, without Aaron being the head of our transportation and working his ass off all hours of the night, when people need to go where they need to go, they call Aaron. Aaron gets the job done. He takes care of the vehicles. He's not dogging the vehicles. The other people that we had before, just all over the country, dogging stuff out. So I'm very appreciative for Aaron, Robert. I can't not give enough appreciation to my man Kenneth. He is in a very stressful position. I understand that. And I'd like to help lighten the burden. You know, it's not easy. Believe that, it's not easy. But I think we have to have uneasy to have easy. If you just got all easy all the time, how do you even know it's easy? You got to have some uneasy uncomfortableness, and that's part of it. So, and I need to thank Bobby Evans, my man here. I love this dude. Yeah, I knew he was. When first time I met Bobby, man, he was high strung, boy. He was suffering from anxiety attacks and he wasn't well, but he was sober, and he kept coming back. And to hear his story today about how he doesn't know that it's not right that he doesn't get his daughter back today. He doesn't know. He's accepted that it may not be the right time, and that he is at peace with himself. Acceptance, man, is the answer to all of our problems. It really is.
We got to make amends for the behavior that we've done.
Yeah.
It doesn't. In our time.
Yeah, check this out. So an example that somebody gave me said, imagine walking down the road and you turn right into the forest. And for 20 years, you walk through the dark forest, and then you all of a sudden decide to clean up, turn around, and go back. How long is it going to take you to get back out to where you started? Right? It takes time. Now, I may sprint back and try to cut that time in half. For sure. But it damn sure ain't going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is we're working towards a better life.
And things aren't going to just knock us off the trail.
No.
Just so they don't get there fast enough.
Right.
I'm going to turn back around.
Right. No, I'm not going back into the forest. Fuck no.
So.
I'd also like to thank my mom and my dad, my family, and my wife and daughter, John. I mean, they've all put up with so much shit. But I've got to make those living amends now, you know. And if I've been to madness, my mom and dad are getting old. I could only imagine. Every one of us are going to die. You got to accept that. And I don't like talking about it, but I do think about it and accept it. That in the madness, if I got a phone call that mom or dad passed away, there's no way I could be what I need to be, what I'm supposed to be, because I'd be drunk or high, because I didn't go anywhere sober for many years, nowhere. I'm not going. I'll stay in bed. I'm a baby. Give me a pacifier, a blanket. Now go and leave so I can get this bottle and start drinking, you know?
So let's wrap it up.
Yes, please.
What's your one message to the world?
One message to the world. I have to do what Jesus said, which is love one another as you love yourself. And if we're loving each other, we're not going to be dropping bombs. We're not going to be shooting and killing our neighbors, our friends, our family. I got friends that family members have killed each other. I mean, close members of families who've killed each other's brothers. And if we love one another, we are not going to be hurting one another, period. It's an impossibility. It's like putting God first. If I put God first, there's no way I'm going to deviate from that. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drug, period. I can't. It's an impossibility because I got God first. And if I love one another, and there's times when I don't like people, but I still love them. I have to. And that would be the great message that I'd give. Just love one another.
Any message to the alcoholic or addict that's still suffering?
There is a solution. There is a solution. Sure is. You know, when it was said to me at a meeting one day, a guy was, he was taking sandwiches and drinks to a homeless couple over in the woods and buying them candy bars and giving them money. And somebody, an old timer, said, do not rob anybody of their rock bottom. Don't do it. You're enabling them. You are harming them by what you're thinking is helping them. You have to have enough pain to eventually want change. And until you do, I'll pray for you. I mean, that's all I can do for a person who's not ready. But once you're willing, I'm not saying Alcoholics Anonymous is the only way to get sober. I know people that have done it other ways. Hell, I got friends that are atheists that do it. But for me, what works is God and AA. That's all I can say. I mean, that's been my experience. And if I can share that with anybody, that's what I'd like to do.
All right, brother.
That's about all I got. Love you.
I love you, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you.